Control the kitchen chaos and streamline your back-of-house operations with Restaurant Technologies. Restaurant Technologies' total oil management solution is the end-to-end automated oil management system that delivers, filters, monitors, and recycles your cooking oil, taking the dirtiest job out of the kitchen and lets your employees focus on more important tasks. The total oil management solution helps prevent the burns, spills, slips, and falls that come from traditional oil management. Restaurant Technologies gives you and your employees peace of mind among the chaos of a commercial kitchen and can maximize efficiency for your business. And no upfront cost. Learn more about Restaurant Technologies and the solutions they offer by visiting rti-inc.com or call 888-796-4997.
Hello, welcome to Menu Talk with Pat and Bret. I'm your co-host, Nation's Restaurant News and Restaurant Hospitality's Senior Food and Beverage Editor, Bret Thorn.
And I am Pat Cobe, Senior Menu Editor at Restaurant Business. Welcome.
How you doing, Pat?
I'm doing well. It's been a good summer so far. Nice weather today in New York, so we're lucky about that.
Yes, it's not as hot and absurd. Although, so I got out this morning and decided I would treat myself to an iced coffee, actually an iced Americano, because I've decided I like iced Americanos better than cold brew. I like the more kind of spicy, rough around the edges kind of flavor of espresso compared to cold brew. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I going to my local cafe Orzo, and the line was long. So I thought, well, I can go to Starbucks because I can order in advance. But today there's no advance ordering at Starbucks because of the Microsoft not working situation going on that's delayed a bunch of flights and apparently has disrupted Starbucks ordering system. So Starbucks' loss was Cafe Orzo's gain, and I got my iced Americano there.
Was there a big line at Starbucks? Oh, you didn't even go to Starbucks.
Didn't go. That was not going to bother. But Krispy Kreme is being smart today. They just this morning sent out an email. They're giving away free donuts in sympathy from 5 to 7 p.m. I mean, this will be posted in a couple of days, so anyone who missed it, they're out of luck. But and I there are no Krispy Kremes in Brooklyn actually, and I'm not crossing a river to get a free donut. It's not.
Well, sometimes they sell them in Walgreens too, or, but they're probably not free there, and they're probably not as good because they're in a box and they've probably been sitting there for a while.
Right. Exactly. So what else is going on?
I heard that McDonald's was also having a few issues with their app. But
I believe that.
Yeah. It's really, tech can really screw up everything. Speaking about freebies, we've noticed a lot of free giveaways this year for these national days, like National French Fry Day. Sunday is National Ice Cream Day, which I can really wrap my arms around because I love ice cream. But there's also been National Hot Dog Day, National Chicken Wing Day. There are so many national days this month. It seems like it's much more than normal, in my opinion.
Well, I think it might be. I mean, the days don't really change. Occasionally a chain will declare something. Like there's a little vegan cinnamon roll chain called Cinnaholic that declared a Cinnaholic week or day or whatever, which, no one's going to stop them. But, in these days of obviously a challenged economic situation, I mean, the macroeconomy is fine, but inflation is up and people don't have as much money and they're definitely cutting back in their visits to restaurants. Restaurants need to figure out ways to promote themselves. And so these national days, which I will go on the record as saying I hate. Like, I don't like being bossed around. Like, oh, it's chicken wing day. You got to go eat chicken wings. I was in a bar in Denver, I don't know, a summer or two ago, and someone said, oh, it's National Bourbon Day. You have to have bourbon. And I said, just because it's National Bourbon Day doesn't mean that I have to have bourbon. And he said, yes, you do, which I just thought was a hilarious line. And I don't remember whether I ordered bourbon or not at his demand. Instead, I drink whatever I wanted. But as I understand it, like Chicken Wing Day is one of the busiest days of the year for Wingstop. And, the people really respond to this. I guess, I'm a contrarian, and if someone says that's the way it's done, I don't want to do it. But a lot of people want to belong. They have FOMO. They want to be part of a cultural experience. And if that means that on National Iced Coffee Day, you're going to stand in line at Dunkin' and get your free iced coffee, they'll do it. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think it's getting a little stupid that there are so many of these days. I mean, you could name any kind of food and there would be a day for it. What I think is that it does benefit restaurants, even if they just build social media awareness. I mean, and they get a lot of comments on social media, and that, makes people more familiar with what the chain offers. And yeah, I guess Super Bowl is their number one wing day, but then comes National Chicken Wing Day.
Yeah, yes, which again, I don't fully understand it, but it shows that I don't really understand human beings because they get into it.
Well, they celebrate the chicken on a lot of other days too. There's a chicken sandwich day, and I'm not sure if there's a drumstick day, but there should be.
I'm 100% sure there's a drumstick day because there's a day for everything. And if you just Google National whatever it is day, National, I don't know, Aperol Spritz Day. I'm going to look it up.
Well, I think if people offer like a deal on those days, maybe not a freebie, but they, 2-for-1 or something like that, I think that's a reason to go in. National Bourbon Day, I'm sure they didn't give you more than one drink with bourbon. They probably just had a surplus of bourbon and they wanted everyone to order it.
Well, they weren't giving anything away, I don't think. And then it wasn't the bartender who said I had to do it. It was a fellow customer. So there actually doesn't look like there is a National Aperol Spritz Day, but there is a National Spritz Day. It's coming up on August 1st.
Oh, good. We could talk about that after it happens. I could have an Aperol Spritz that I would enjoy.
Yeah, although me being me, I will probably not order it on August 1st. I'll have it on July 31st and August 2nd, but not on that day.
Okay.
That's the kind of, and honestly, not doing something because it's trendy is exactly the same as doing something because it's trendy. You're still following what the public says you are supposed to do, even if you're responding.
And it gets you thinking about
Right.
that food or drink.
Yes. What else is going on? Eat anywhere good lately?
Well, so I revisited La Palapa, which is a Mexican place in the East Village in New York. And it has been there for over 20, I don't even know if it's 25 years, but when I first started a restaurant business, that was on my first day, that is where the managing editor took me for lunch. So it's at least 22 years old. So it definitely has longevity. It's run by a female chef, Barbara Sibley, who lived in Mexico most of her life. And it's just really great little place everything is very authentic. They had 3 different kinds of margaritas that were all really good. They have music on Wednesday nights. And they had the best churros I've ever had because I'm not a big churros fan, but these were really crispy and you could dunk them in this good sauce. And we had like a big group. So we had like a paced menu. So I normally wouldn't even order churros, but they came with it.
And they were delicious.
They were delicious. And we had some really cool things. We had a Mexican Caesar salad. We had lots of guacamole, a couple of flautas. And yeah, everything was really delicious. And she has next door to La Palapa is Holiday Bar, which is her little bar. And that was also really jumping. So it's really good to see that these longevity places are doing well.
Yeah, I love it when restaurants are doing well like that. I mean, it's interesting that you say a Mexican Caesar salad because the Caesar salad was actually invented in Tijuana many years ago. So what makes a Mexican Caesar Mexican? Do you remember?
Well, she served there was like a little chorizo bite served on the side.
Oh.
The croutons were a little Mexican spiced. It had a little more, it didn't have like the standard Parmigiano, cheese. It had maybe Cotica cheese. I didn't really know exactly what went into it, but it definitely had a little Mexican flavor.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have barely eaten out at all this week. I got a salad from Chopped at lunch one day when I was working in the office. It was good. They have a really nice pesto, and they have sort of a Parmesan dressing. I guess it was sort of Caesar-like, but with pesto.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to my local bar in my new neighborhood, Wheeler's, where everybody says the food is great. I find that the food is reasonably priced and in large portions, which is fine. Which honestly, that's okay. And I had some what they call chicken and beef tidbits, where they grill the chicken and beef and they serve it on toast with a bunch of melted cheese and 3 different dipping sauces, and ketchup and a sort of medium hot sauce and a honey mustard thing. And yeah, that's not a bad way to spend an evening.
No, and I'm sure it's a very high margin item for the restaurant because they're using little bits of leftover chicken and steak and just putting it together into a new item.
Exactly. Yeah, and good for them, and it tasted good. I guess actually I also had a bowl of chili there one night, which was perfectly fine. Bowl of chili with cheese. Went with my beer while I was watching the America Cup final, the Copa America soccer final.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, which was delayed, and because of a hubbub in Miami, I wasn't really paying attention. But apparently, the locals kind of rushed into the stadium, and the security lapsed, and so they had to delay the game.
Well, it's good to have a neighborhood place that you can call your own, like your local Cheers.
Right, exactly. I haven't quite established myself there as that. When I walk in, they don't say, Bret, but I've only been in the neighborhood it'll be 3 months next week. I haven't, my other bar in my old neighborhood, Park Slope, I go to a bar called Logan's Run, and there everyone greets me, and it's nice.
Well, I'm sure they'll get to know you soon.
I'm working on it. Wheeler's is bigger than Logan's Run, so it's more work to get fully embedded there.
Well, Restaurant Week is coming up too in New York. I usually try and go to one place, even though I don't always find it, the best value, but I like to support the restaurant industry. So I support New York Restaurant Week. And I think it goes for a month now. It's not just a week. So I believe it starts next week, and I guess it'll run through August.
Yeah, I guess so. And restaurants, I think, have to be thoughtful when they're doing Restaurant Week, because sometimes Restaurant Week customers are not your regular customers. They're going in for the deal, and they might never come back. So what you have to do, since there are new people coming in, you have to, I think, be willing to break even or maybe lose a little bit of money on this deal so that you can win people over and say, wow, that was a really great experience. Because when somebody's walking into your restaurant for the first time, you really want to put your best foot forward and enchant them. And then, even if they're coming in for a deal, you might win them over and they'll come back. This, I think, is a great approach to Restaurant Week. Otherwise, don't bother. If you're just going to be cheap and treat your cheap customers as though they're cheap, it cheapens the whole experience. And
I usually try and find a restaurant I've never gone to. And if it's good and I'm treated well, I will go back.
Yeah.
So, right.
And, maybe order an extra glass of wine or something to make sure that they turn a profit. It's worth it. So speaking of glasses of wine, sort of, that's not a very good segue. My guest this week is Trevin Hutchins, who is the beverage director of a place in San Francisco called Aphotic, which the aphotic layer in the ocean is the bottom, where no light comes in. And their mission is to use lesser known seafood, and they're in San Francisco, so they have a strong traceability ethos. So it's sort of the opposite of what happens in the aphotic section of the water, where we don't know what's happening. Instead, they shine a light on everything they do. Well, I asked Trevin Hutchins about why they call the restaurant, what they do, and I will play that clip. It's short.
It's a reference to the layer of the ocean that doesn't see light. So we're a seafood restaurant that really focuses heavily on, traceability, and sort of bringing, more kind of rare sea ingredients to the forefront. So sort of a poetic kind of take on on the name.
But they have a very, very serious beverage program. In fact, they even have a distiller's license, which is very ambitious for a restaurant. And so I said, Trevin, what on earth do you distill?
Yeah. So we primarily focus on foraged or farmed ingredients from California. So we make, for the most part, single botanical distillates that we use for throughout the cocktail program to make like liqueurs or split bases for cocktails or modifiers. We also make a seaweed gin that we bottle here. We use in our signature martini.
You said seaweed gin?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure I understood that. So seaweed is the main botanical instead of
correct. Yep. So seaweed, as we're using, we work with Monterey-based seaweeds. They're a sustainable aquaculture farm that we work with in Monterey, and source seaweed from them. We use juniper, orris root, bitter orange, and green tea in there.
Interesting. I know menus are adding seafood and sea vegetables and algae to, on the food side, but I never heard of anyone doing it on the beverage side.
Well, that's why we're showcasing cutting edge people.
Yeah.
And in fact, Trevin even made a lobster distillate that's very intense. And they have an approach to how they deal with some of their new distillates, because it can be hard to figure out what you're doing.
We give it like the daiquiri or gimlet test, which is pretty simple, just refreshing cocktail, and see how it sort of works in that sort of blueprint of a cocktail.
So that's how they start to understand, how the distillate works. They make some really weird ones, and they make a gimlet, and then, you can see how that particular creation of theirs interacts with a kind of regular cocktail.
Well, it must be a fun job to work there. I mean, they taste cocktails all day long.
Well, a lot of what they do is actually non-alcoholic pairings. I'll get to in a second, but now I want to talk about the lobster distillate.
We, kill the lobster, actually put it in a blender with vodka, and then rotovap it. So we use a rotary evaporator for most of our distillations, so low temperature distillation. But for this one specifically, we're actually doing a high temp distillation through the rotovap, and I'm cooking it while we're distilling it. So cooking that kind of pieces of lobster in the vodka, the neutral grains base that we use, and then distilling it. So you're getting this cooked true flavor of lobster. It's pretty wild.
That sounds pretty wild, huh?
Definitely. I wonder if it tastes fishy, or the seaweed distillates. I mean, to me, it would sound like it would have a little bit of a fishy flavor.
Yeah, well, Trevin said that the brininess of some of the distillates, especially the seaweed gin, can kind of seem similar to champagne, which can also have some briny qualities.
Right. And I can imagine it pairs really well with oysters or, something that is a seafood dish.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But a big focus of theirs is what they call the sea level pairing, which is a 100% non-alcoholic beverage pairing that goes with their either 11-course or 13-course prefix seafood tasting menu. It's 11 courses in the dining room and then 13 courses at the chef's counter. So I asked him about that.
And do they have like 11 drinks to go with it, or some of them double up?
Some of them double up.
Yeah.
The 13 course pairing has one more drink than the 11 course pairing on it.
This whole, kind of pairing came out of us really noticing that we were having a really big demand for our non-alcoholic cocktails to begin with. So like just main menu cocktails. And so we decided to sort of grow it from, just offering kind of, a la carte cocktails to really tailoring something to the tasting menu. And it's been doing really well. We're really excited. We're really proud of it too, because, we make everything in-house. And so, I've done a couple of non-alcoholic pairings at some restaurants, and usually there's sort of a mix of like purchased non-alcoholic wines or beers and, some non-alcoholic cocktails that are made in-house. So yeah, we're really proud. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, it seems like I was mentioning that our 50 Great Ideas special package is coming out next week. And in there was, I wrote about this omakase menu where they pair it with non-alcoholic cocktails. So I think there are like 12 courses or 13 courses, and they have 5 different cocktails that they serve. I mean, non-alcoholic cocktails. So it seems like it's these. I mean, I know that non-alcoholic cocktails have been on menus for a while, but it seems like there are more of these pairings and upscale restaurants doing pairings.
Yeah, those are two big trends, the omakase meal and the non-alcoholic beverage. And I mean, just in this week's menu tracker that I wrote, there were 2 or 3 chains that were rolling out entirely new mocktails, as they call them. I don't like to call them mocktails. They're not mocking anything. But, really looked after soft drinks that, with premium ingredients often, or just a thoughtful combination of flavors, because why not penalize somebody just because they don't want to drink? And also, why penalize the restaurant? If you produce a good spirit-free beverage, you're able to charge for it.
Right.
So anyway, I asked Trevin to talk me through some of these non-alcoholic beverages, and they're rather involved.
It's a range of sort of in-house made non-alcoholic wines. So like I mentioned, we have that sort of champagne one that's made from like clarified Granny Smith apple, and then it has like a house blanc vermouth in there as well. That's non-alcoholic that we make. It's got a pretty wide range of ingredients, botanicals, and then we also have a red wine that goes with our entree. That's made with like Verjus Rouge and juniper and charred beets, and then some rose as well.
So interesting.
Yeah, and they charge people for it. They're about a third of the pairings, this beverage pairings that are ordered with a tasting menu are non-alcoholic. And they charge $95 for it, for the 11-course one, and I think $115 for the 13-course one. And that's compared to $135 that they charge for the alcoholic pairing. And because it's very labor intensive and they use a lot of fancy ingredients, the alcoholic beverage pairing is actually more profitable. The pour cost for the spirit-free stuff is higher.
Well, it sounds very labor intensive to make these non-alcoholic drinks.
Yeah, well, not everybody who orders them isn't drinking at all. Sometimes they'll do the non-alcoholic beverage pairing and also have a bottle of champagne.
Or else, sort of like alternate. First you have a non-alcoholic, then you have a cocktail.
Sure, that's an option. Although in this pairing, that's not an option. Although, you know what? If you asked, then we mix it up and you throw in a couple. Yeah. They're not monsters. They'll accommodate you.
Yeah.
They're in the full service industry.
Well, the omakase room is where they do the one I'm talking about, and they charge, I believe, $65 for the pairing. So they can really upcharge for these just as much as they would for a bottle, a wine pairing or a cocktail pairing.
For sure. And this isn't super duper new. Years ago, I had lunch at the French Laundry with 6 friends of mine, and I learned at that lunch that one of my friends was pregnant. And this was so long ago that I think that the woman she was pregnant with is in college now. So, this is a while ago. But it was the French Laundry, so they immediately whisked away her champagne, and they brought her a glass of sparkling cider. I remember they paired the foie gras with a black cherry soda. There was a rabbit course that had some sort of fancy local lemonade. But that was the French Laundry, and now it's happening everywhere, which I think is fantastic. Not that I don't know that I've ever done a non-alcoholic beverage pairing because I like to drink alcohol, and I live in New York, so I don't have to drive home. So, but I support the idea.
I would really like to do the alternating one because sometimes when you have too much, alcohol, you stop tasting it towards the end. So it would be nice to alternate.
Well, and obviously, Aphotic isn't opposed to people drinking. In fact, they have an award-winning martini that I want to have Trevin tell you about.
It's one we're distilling the gin in-house, which is pretty unique. We're using, Noli Prat original dry vermouth, really classic French dry vermouth, lots of kind of chamomile and coriander notes to it. It's nice freshness. We also split that with single estate, single vineyard Manzanilla sherry. So that coastal sherry brings some nuttiness, some salinity to the martini. And you get kind of best of both worlds. You get expression of the lemon peel while you're pouring it. We do a nice kind of high pour while we're sort of expressing the peel. And then on the side, it comes with a Tsar Nikolai caviar stuffed olive.
Sounds yummy.
Guess how much you charge for it?
$40.
$30.
Okay.
Honestly, these days, that's just kind of what cocktails cost.
Yeah, I mean, you get the caviar on the side. So.
Right. Well, he said that's the main cost is the caviar. But I want caviar with my martini.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Yeah, $30. I mean, look, at good bars and restaurants in New York now, $25 is kind of the going price for a cocktail.
Yeah, which I don't understand. In fact, somebody from I don't even remember what media outlet it was, but they were writing about the price of cocktails and asked me why they're so expensive. And it's certainly, everything's going up, but ingredients less so than labor and overhead and all of that. And it's just, now it's what people charge, which
I think the market can bear it at at these higher end restaurants and bars, because once one person, one establishment does it, others start doing the same thing.
Right. But it's interesting that there are restaurants whose customers don't seem to have any price barriers. And then, we're in the chain restaurant world that we also live in. Everything's getting discounted. There are all these meal deals, et cetera, because traffic is down and they're trying to get people to come in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely two sides, two extremes.
Yes, we have multiple economic factors in our country based on who you are and where you're from and what's going on.
So is Trevin a bartender before this, or was he trained as a chef?
His background is in mixology.
Oh, okay.
And he's originally from Maine, which is why he had no qualms about killing a lobster and distilling it and stuff. It's what he does. And so, what are your plans for this week, Pat?
Well, let's see. I really want to have some oysters. All of a sudden, I've gotten in the mood for oysters. I'm going to try and make that happen.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. I always love oysters, with a really nice dry white wine or champagne if I'm with other people. But yeah.
Well, last time I checked, are you familiar with the little fairly casual seafood chain Seymour's?
Mm-hmm. There's one right near my apartment, actually.
Oh, well, so I don't know if they still do, they probably do. They have an oyster and kava happy hour that I think maybe you should do this afternoon. When I came out of lockdown, I mean, during the pandemic, I basically stayed in my apartment for 13 months. And after I came out, one of the first restaurants I went to was Seymour's, just because it was near my doctor's office. I had a doctor's appointment, and I got the special. And I hadn't had oysters, obviously, in 13 months. So I guess I could have gone out and found some oysters and shucked them myself. But it was such a great, wonderful treat. So, yeah, I slid into the DMs of the founder of Seymour's and was like, thank you. These are delicious oysters. And it's great. So this is my recommendation for you. And
what are you planning on doing in the next few days?
That's a really good question. I don't know. Now that you've mentioned oysters, I might go have some oysters. I do now, as I discussed a lot, live in the coastal area of New York with a view of Sheepshead Bay. There's a lot of good seafood here. I might get me some oysters and shrimp cocktail because I'm a sucker for shrimp cocktail.
It sounds like a great combo.
Yes.
Be sure to have the cava too, or some kind of sparkling.
Yeah, or a martini.
Or a martini.
I think that a Aphotic martini would be really good with oysters or a shrimp cocktail.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that wraps it up for Menu Talk this week. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thank you, Bret. That was really interesting hearing about the distillation and the non-alcoholic cocktails. Learned a lot.
And I'm sure we'll have some fascinating new guests next week.
Control the kitchen chaos and streamline your back-of-house operations with Restaurant Technologies. Restaurant Technologies' total oil management solution is the end-to-end automated oil management system that delivers, filters, monitors, and recycles your cooking oil, taking the dirtiest job out of the kitchen and lets your employees focus on more important tasks. The total oil management solution helps prevent the burns, spills, slips, and falls that come from traditional oil management. Restaurant Technologies gives you and your employees peace of mind among the chaos of a commercial kitchen and can maximize efficiency for your business. And no upfront cost. Learn more about Restaurant Technologies and the solutions they offer by visiting rti-inc.com or call 888-796-4997.